Hello, humans. It is not Martine. It's Kayla. And today you're going to be watching my installment of 12 more TBRs of friendship. So, yesterday's video, you saw Ruby over at Ruby Red. If you didn't see it, go watch Ruby now and then come back to me. Thanks. You saw Ruby over at Ruby Red. You saw her read part one of the Buzzwordathon challenge. She read January through June. I'm here to read July through December. So, if you didn't watch Ruby's video, again, go do that. Stop watching them out of order. Which is a year-long challenge hosted by or created by Kayla over at Books and Lala. I don't normally participate in the Buzzword challenge just because I forget and have other things going on. But I did this year, kind of, for this. Okay, so the first thing that we have up is July, the July book, and the prompt is punctuation. So I picked Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell, and there's a little apostrophe right there. So this is gay in space, political drama, little bit of murder mystery. I have had this book for so long, and this copy actually has a couple notes in it from Ruby. We stand Ruby on this channel, but Ruby read this first. This was my copy, and she wanted to read it many years ago. And I was like, here you go, you can read this. And she put some little notes in it, and I finally got to it for this. So I love sci-fi, but this was not really it. I don't particularly remember a whole lot from the book, but I don't I don't know. Like the characters didn't really get me. It's these two um men and they're in an arranged marriage and like one's a prince and one's a count. I don't know. They're like in this arranged marriage and you kind of follow them in that, but it's full of miscommunication. It's full of just them. And I was like bored. And I don't know if it was because I just wasn't vibing with it or I'm out of my sci fi or maybe like the world building in this didn't make sense to me. I don't know. But I gave this 3 stars because I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. So I really can't. It says a legendary love story in the stars, and I'm like, can we I'm trying to get into sci-fi and again, and this is not it. I wish it was it. It's not it. Now, if we move into August, August was the prompt was with, so the title had to have used the word with. Picked Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake. This has been on my shelf for a while. Actually got this copy, I think the first time I went to go see Bailey over at Is Bailey Reading. We got this at Half Price Books and I brought it home with me. And so I again have had this for a while. I'm trying to use books on my shelf. Okay. Martine, I'm doing my best, right? So I picked this one. I'm just going to tell you, I gave this 5 stars. This book is amazing. It is unlike any romance you will have ever read, probably. It was giving very much Normal People by Sally Rooney. I think that's what I told my therapist when I was reading it and talking to her about it. It feels very much like Normal People, but obviously different because this is set in Chicago. And okay, anyway, we're talking about this, not Normal People. But this is a book about Reagan, and Reagan meets Aldo, and Reagan is kind of like she's an artist, but she forges the art, I think. I don't know. And they send her to like court mandated therapy, and she's at the Art Institute. She runs into Aldo, and he is like a TA adjunct professor, um, like theoretical, statistical, blah 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 math. Okay, big math. So it follows them and their kind of love story, and it feels so raw, it feels so real. This is a book that you go into wanting to dissect. I watched an interview the other day that said that this was for the burnt out AP Lit kids, so they can just dissect the heck out of this, and that they would love it and just rip this book apart, looking at the prose and the language. And it is, people say it's flowery, it's a lot. It feels manic. When I read it, I feel very manic, but in like a good way. It's very depressing, it's obsessive, it is just, it's so good. And I really want people to read this. I don't think this book is for everybody, but there are scenes in this book that I remember reading them and just looking across the room at one of my coworkers who had read this book. And she kind of looked up at me, and I looked at her, and we looked back at each other, and I just went, I love this book so much. And she, like, apparently was so scared that I would hate it because she loved it so much. But I did give that one 5 stars, Alone with You in the Ether. So the next book I have is not October, September. September is events, so an event. And I originally feel like I picked a different book for this one, and then I circled back and chose this book that I'm going to talk about, um, which is My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. Yeah. So I chose My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. This is, again, a book I've had for a while. Um, it is a horror book about two high school girls, and one is possessed. Um, and so she has to get like an exorcism. I can vividly picture this book. This is why I'm really bad at explaining books, um, after it's been like a kind of little bit after I've read them, because I can picture things so vividly in my brain, and I'm like, how do I explain to you what I see in my brain without like completely giving away the story? Um, but this is like campy horror. When I was a kid, I watched a movie with my brother called April Fool's Day, and that is the epitome of campy horror 80s, and that is what I thought about with this one. There were parts in this book that were scary. There were parts in this book that were disgusting. Like, think of that TikTok girl that goes, yuck, like that. That's what I think about. Gross. It is just teen angsty. Every chapter is the title of a song. And just, I don't think it is the best horror book I've ever read, but I think it did exactly what it was supposed to. And if you like camp, if you like horror, if you like just what the heck did I just read, that's this one. I give it 4 stars, and I haven't seen the movie yet. I'm kind of scared to watch the movie, and I think that's because I've heard that it is not, it doesn't match. It changes a lot of the plot. It's not really that scary, but I'll watch the movie eventually. The next book that I'm going to chat with you about is October's book, and the prompt was violent words. Okay, violent words. And I, for that, chose Notes on an Execution. And I've completely forgotten who wrote it. This book was a library book that I got, and I chose this because a couple years ago it was on Lizzie's like favorites of the year, and I wanted to read it, and I ended up not reading it. So I had to go back and read it eventually because I did want to read it. This book I actually know for a fact is overdue at the library, and I know it's in my mom's car because we were supposed to take it back to the library, and I'm remembering now that it's in the backseat of her car. Somebody remind me if I've asked me if I've turned that in, because I don't know if I have yet. Sorry. But this is a book, basically the countdown of someone, I think it's a guy. Okay, I gave this 4 stars, but now that I'm thinking back, it actually is not that memorable. I feel like I really did not like this book at all. I think I had at some point to switch to the audio because I just really was not vibing, and I couldn't bring myself to finish it. This is the same thing. You have to I think that this is a book that people will analyze. I think that this is a book that you really have to think while you're reading. You can't just, no thoughts, head empty kind of thing. You have to really focus. So this guy committed a crime. Do I remember the crime now? He committed some kind of crime and he is going to be executed. And the chapters kind of count down his time before he gets executed. And then there are some other chapters that, again, I don't remember. I'm great at my job of explaining this to you, but it is something else. Anyway, I understand why Lizzie liked it. I understand why a lot of people like this book. It just was not for me. I think it's giving very dry. I didn't care for the characters. I didn't really care for what was going on, obviously. I think at the time I rated it 4 stars because I was fresh, but now that I'm really thinking back, it doesn't stick with me. So when books don't stick with me like that, they're not, I can't be willing to recommend this to other people. For November, the prompt was never. So I chose another one of my owned books. Wow, Martine, be proud of me. I have done so great so far. Only one library book. All physical books on my TBR. I'm so great. But I chose I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. And my dudes, my guys, my friends, my ladies, my pals. This was absolutely amazing. 5 stars. It's little, it's translated from French. This cover is amazing. This might be one of the best books I've read in a long time. This is giving, to me, this reads like A Short Stay in Hell, which is a book that I read last year that I was also very little, and it kind of, I couldn't put it down. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I think that this book is just amazing. So let me tell you about it. So it starts in this. I need to use my hands. I can't keep waving this book around. So it starts in a bunker type thing in like this cage, and we have 39 women in this cage. They're kind of older women, I would say, late 20s to like in their 50s or so. There is one other person in this cage making 40, and she is a young girl. And they are only given food through this like slot, and there's like 3 men walking around as their guards, and there's I think 6 guards total, but they kind of trade out. And these women have been in this cage for years and have no idea why they're there. They don't know how they got there. They don't know why they're there. They don't know what the reason for them being there is. But they are there. They've got some kind of recollection of their past life, but they don't fully remember everything. And one day, um, our main character, the young girl, decides to sit kind of in the corner. Everything she's ever known, she's learned from these women, and they kind of hide things from her because they're like, "Why should we tell you what it's like to be in love when you're never gonna get that? Why should we tell you what it's like to have a job if you're never gonna have that? Why should we tell you all these things about our past lives, our lives that you're not gonna understand?" And so she hasn't seen anything other than this cage and these men and these things. So when people tell her like, oh, in this thing, she has to just assume she knows what that is. She can't read because they don't have pens or pencils or paper or books or anything. She doesn't understand that's not a concept to her, and they can't touch each other. So if someone is sick or trying to harm themselves or doing anything, they we can't help. The guards will like whip them through the cage. So one day something happens and they get out. They figure out they're in a bunker and they go to the surface, and then they're trying to figure out where they are. and they're trying to figure out who they are, and they're trying to figure out what to do, and they're trying to survive. And are there other people in this place? Are we on Earth? Are we on a different planet? Why are we here? Why are we, what are we going to do? How do we survive? Like, they're just, they have no idea, and they're trying to figure it out, and they go on this adventure and they try to survive. And because the young girl is so much younger, I think they kind of have decided that she's about 15, but they don't actually know how old she is. So they just have to assume, well, we think she's about 15. We've been here that long. I don't know how she got in here with us, but we're gauging it on that. So, and she is way younger than everybody else. So um, it is kind of her learning who she is, learning what to do, learning where to go, but having no knowledge of anything other than what she's seeing. And when she finds something or they come across something she's never seen before, it's just like this amazing experience, but also this very upsetting experience. And I, who have never known men, is crazy. Now, did it end the way I wanted it to? No. I was going through and reading it, and I said, this, it's going to end like this. I want it to do like this, I want this to happen. This is going to happen. I was picturing it like a movie, and I was like, okay, this is what's going to happen. And it didn't. And part of me was like really mad. Like, I finished the book and I was like, that's it. That's really what we're doing. And it didn't finish. It felt undone, unfinished. But I think for a lot of people, and I think if you really think about it, it is finished. That's just what happens, and that's how life goes. And I'd be really interested in having a conversation with somebody who has like fully dissected this book, because I can have my opinions, but I'm not that like analytical, and I'm not that, I've never really analyzed a book like that and really dug into it and tried to figure out the meaning and the words. That my brain doesn't really work like that. I'm watching a movie in my head, y'all. And so somebody who really has dug into this, I'd be interested in just listening to them speak and pointing out points of this book. So that. And I will come back and tell you December. December is alliteration. So see you when I finish that eventually. Hey, so I'm back, and I'm ready to tell you about my last book in this video. It's not a vlog. I wanted it to be a vlog, and it didn't turn into one. The last book I want to talk about is for December, and December was alliteration, and I picked Butcher and Blackbird. This is by Bryn Weaver. This is a book that is technically, I feel like people are going to call this a dark romance. I feel like this is more of a regular romance with, no, I'm a liar. This is a dark romance. It's just not as dark as I've read before. And that's why I have like a, I don't know if it's a dark romance kind of vibe. But this one follows two serial killers who, it's giving Dexter. They're two serial killers, but they are killing like the other serial killers. They're killing the bad guys. And they meet and they decide to have a contest every year where they're going to have one like bad guy that they're going to go find and kill. And whoever gets to them first wins. And they just have bragging rights. Well, they fall in love, as you think they would do. So on the back it says, the viral Friends to Lovers dark romantic comedy full of murder, chaos, and sizzling chemistry. I have heard mixed things about this. I do think that a lot of people are like, yeah, it was fine. I am a little bit in both camps. I thought, man, it was fine. But I also loved it so much. So I tandem read it with the audiobook, and the main character is Irish, and the man that speaks for him is giving an Irish accent, and so it enhanced the story greatly. I also just, it was so cute. It was cute. I loved it. I have already bought the second book. I do plan on reading the trilogy eventually, so I did give this 5 stars. There were flaws to it, but I loved it a lot. It was so cute, and there were some parts that were so, like, as someone who's read splatterpunk horror, it was good. this was good for what it was supposed to do. I was grossed out. I had a good time. The romance was good. I do feel like I kind of rushed through this book a little bit. I also feel like I didn't 100% focus on it. And I think if I would have really focused, I could have loved it more and been able to talk about it more. The two main characters were so cute. I think that this author, as she writes more, it will get better. Like, this to me seems like not a debut. I know this isn't, I'm pretty sure, I don't want to say I know, I'm pretty sure this isn't her debut, but I know that the way she writes, it will get better as she's writing more. So I'm looking forward to the next books in that series. So when Squash That series comes around, hopefully I haven't finished yet and I can read it for that. Or maybe I have finished it and I'll read other things. I don't know, but that's not what this is for. So those are my 6 books to finish the second half of the Buzzwordathon for the year. And Ruby did her video. I haven't seen it yet. And then I have mine. And then we're moving on to the next set of the next videos for 12 TBRs of friendship. Tomorrow, I need you to go to Cheyenne's channel. It will be linked down below. Cheyenne is next up on the video train. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to me. Go like, comment, subscribe to every single person in this series of videos. The link for Cheyenne is down below. The link for all the other videos in this journey is down below, the playlist. But Martine, I love you. I appreciate you. You're amazing. I hope that you are having so much fun on your journey of watching our videos for 12 TBRs of friendship. And I cannot wait to see you, Martine, and everybody else in the comments and watching this video in my next video soon. Bye, y'all.